Hello and welcome back to the RHS Chelsea Flower Show. Now it's Tuesday, which as always means it's Medals Day. The nursery exhibits here in the Great Pavilion and the show gardens have been scrutinised by the RHS judges, and we'll be bringing you the results throughout tonight's show. Joe, we're sitting here in the pavilion because it's just been pouring with rain all day.
I'm soaked, honestly.
Yeah, well, I had to take my jacket off. That's banned it.
Everyone's been piling into the Great Pavilion when it's wet and going out when it's dry, but it's feeling really busy at the show.
It's very busy, and all these visitors, regardless of the rain, will be flocking to see the show gardens, which they're doing, and not just to enjoy them, but to pick up the latest ideas and inspiration for their own gardens at home. And we'll be sharing plenty of that with you right here from the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2024, an event supported by the Newton Centre.
And we've got an extra special gem for you today, or should I say a diamond of the acting world, Dame Judi Dench. Monty?
Yeah, well, I spoke to her earlier, and, you know, she is one of the sort of great national treasures.
Absolutely.
You've known her since you were a boy,
well, yeah, she remembers me running around the table when I was a kid, apparently.
Well, there you are. She's pulling rank. Now, we won't keep you waiting any longer. Here are the medal results of the 8 Main Avenue show gardens, brought to you by a couple who know a thing or two about winning gold. We've got him and Adam Foss.
Designer Matthew Childs has got a silver gilt medal, and it's a great goal. It raises awareness of HIV, and it's based on a Welsh slate mine. I love the balance between the planting, which is picked up on the hard landscaping. It's got a real cohesive feel throughout.
Miria was the winner of Young Designer at Tatton 2017. First garden at Chelsea, and she wins a gold medal. It is absolutely stunning. Ula, first gold medal. You seem incredibly in control of your emotions.
I'm so pleased inside. I'm absolutely overjoyed for the whole muscular dystrophy UK community and construction team. Absolutely thrilled.
These are some of the largest walls I've ever seen at Chelsea. It gives that sense of enclosure, but it's all brought down into the space by the trees that are surrounding it as well. This is the St James's Piccadilly Garden by Robert Myers, and got a gold medal. Robert, congratulations. Were you particularly nervous about this garden?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you know, we've created this rather ginormous structure. A bit worried that the judges might think that it's just all a bit too much, but what a relief.
Sophie and Dido, it's their first time at Chelsea, and they have got themselves a silver gilt. They have created a sanctuary of calm. I think I might stay. Two creatives, how's that collaboration gone?
It's been so much fun. We're both very opinionated,
but quite good listeners.
So it's worked really well.
Fantastic collaboration.
This is designer Miria Harris's first show garden ever, and it's on Main Avenue at Chelsea. Now, Miria suffered a stroke, and it's about stroke recovery. And it's been designed without any plastic or any concrete at all. She got a bronze medal, but the people at the show, and the wildlife especially, are absolutely loving this garden. So Miria, this is your first show garden ever, Chelsea Main Avenue.
I know, go big or go home, or go big and go home.
Designers Tom Massey and Jay Young have got themselves a gold medal. This is a very, very clever collaboration. Tom, reality is it's another gold medal for you. You, Jay, first time medal. What does it feel like, my friend?
Amazing. Exhausted. Yeah.
Adam knows that, yeah. You know
That's
that.
what you look like.
Yeah.
This garden's designed by Anne-Marie Powell. The idea is it's built on a brownfield site. It's a community space, but with lots of areas to interact. Seating areas, there's water, and then the planting is the most vibrant on the showground. Now, Anne-Marie got a silver gilt medal. I think this is a wonderful garden.
Fab to get a silver gilt medal. You know, urban community green space shouldn't be a luxury, should it?
Certainly not.
Tom has picked up his 9th gold medal at the Chelsea Flower Show. This garden is elegant, timeless, tranquil. Tom, your 9th gold medal at the Chelsea Flower Show. Would you like to share the secret?
I think it's pretty simple, really. You've got to work with the best people, and then you've got to trust them.
This man oozes charm.
Of course, only the 4 gold medals can be contenders for Best in Show.
Yeah, it's 4 golds,
Yeah.
3 silver gilts, 1 bronze.
Right.
And yes, only the golds can win Best in Show. And it is on a point system.
Yes, well, I know that, and I know we're going to be discussing about that much later. But of course, one of those gold medal gardens is, and one of the contenders for Best in Show is this garden, the St James Piccadilly Imagine the World to Be Different garden by Robert Myers.
And we were taking a walk with our umbrellas.
Yes, well, I know.
Through London in the rain.
In the rain. And of course, this garden is incredibly sort of elaborately landscaped and laid out. I like the little bird box, don't you? I mean, these walls are huge.
They are really big for a show garden, aren't they? And then the window as well, which I like because of the visitors to the show, can look in and we can look out as well.
I mean, it's interesting. You have a garden like this, which is doing something really dramatic and big, and obviously it's a show, and in principle that's interesting. Why do you think this got a gold medal in particular?
Well, it will have hit its brief.
Yeah.
The construction is of very high quality. And yeah, I think he will have said he's gone for an eclectic mix of materials with the structure in the corner, and the height is also mimicked in the trees. We've got the trachycarpus, we've got the trees which help sit these big structures into this setting and create the courtyard feel. So he will have hit his brief, that's the key.
Now, hitting the brief, of course, is something that we don't know what the brief was, and we never will know. But hitting the brief is an important part of that process.
It's massive. It's massive, and all the hard landscaping is very high quality. The plant quality is high, and horticulturally, this garden will be correct as well.
And do you feel? I tell you what I feel about this garden. It reminds me of the sort of show gardens we were seeing 30 years ago or 25 years ago.
Is that nostalgic?
Well, it's interesting. Do you think that's a deliberate piece of retro design? Or that it's just part of a piece, and why not?
Well, it's also, it's St James's Piccadilly, so it's not going to be a contemporary space, and this garden is going to be transported and actually put in situ. So in a way, it's a garden that's got an end situation, an end site, and it's been worked backwards into a Chelsea garden.
To win Best in Show, what do you think will give it that pip? How will this become Best in Show?
Well, it's got to start. First of all, it's got to get the maximum points. The garden with the maximum points will win Best in Show. If there's 2 tying, then it goes to a vote with the judges.
So to get maximum points, you just got to do everything right.
You got to do everything right.
Okay.
You got to do everything right. Well done to Robert, who's done everything right here, and that really well-deserved gold medal. Now, over in the Great Pavilion, the nurseries and growers have also been going for gold, with the highlights of the medal results under canvas. Here's our very own award-winning plantswoman, Carol Klein.
Isn't this exciting? Just imagine all these exhibitors have spent the entire year just preparing for this very moment. The RHS judges, trained horticulturalists, all of them, have been touring around, applying the same kind of criteria to each exhibit. How hard have people tried? What's their kind of endeavour? What about the enterprise in putting this display together? What's the quality of the plants? When all these are averaged out, they decide on a medal. It's been an incredible year this year, as far as gold medals are concerned. In the Great Pavilion, 50 gold medals have been awarded, and some of them to people who've been coming year after year after year. They must be thrilled to bits. Vicky and Stan, How have you got on?
We got our goal, so we're really, really pleased.
Yeah.
How many goals is that?
That's 12 Chelsea gold out of 14 visits.
Absolutely brilliant. Was that for the stand-off for your outfit? A bit of both?
A bit of both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Very worthy of a gold medal. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alongside all these old hands, there are also people who are exhibiting here for the very, very first time in the Great Pavilion. Charlotte, congratulations. Silver gilt, and it's your very first time.
I'm absolutely ecstatic, really couldn't be more pleased. We're judged on our floral display, but also on how we communicate information and what the message is that we're trying to show people.
Yeah. And what is your message?
We want to show people that wildflowers can be integrated into more formal planting schemes, that you don't have to set aside an area to rewild, that it can be more considered in how you plant them.
Congratulations to you and the whole team.
Thank you very much.
Exhibitors will go to some extreme and extraordinary lengths to try and win gold. So you've won gold.
Yeah, absolutely delighted.
Absolutely brilliant. It's a wonderful stand. It's lovely.
Thank you so much.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah, a bit of a big flower pot, that one. It was originally a cheese-making vat. It's made of copper, and the reason why we plant it in there because slugs and snails hate crosser.
They hate copper, don't they? So I know this one, it's Crosser Eagle. What's this one called?
This is blue mouse ears.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's one of the best blues.
So very appropriate in a big cheese pot.
Totally.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The RHS Chelsea Flower Show is well known as the pinnacle of the horticultural world. So for any designer or exhibitor coming here, it's a daunting prospect, let alone having the added pressure of travelling your exhibit all the way from Scandinavia and ensuring it arrives at the showground in tip-top condition. Our next exhibitor did just that, and we visited him at his home as he prepared for this year's show.
Here we are in the middle of Zealand, just west of Copenhagen in Denmark. And we have this lovely countryside, rolling hills, forest, everything you could ever wish for. My name is Heinrich Braun. I am Danish, and I've been growing willow for 20 years now. Willow love the Danish weather. It's very humid and very rainy. Willow don't mind having its feet in water. They love being on the side of a lake. So here we got an example of an old willow tree living in the wild. Probably 100 years old. And the willow tree is really doing what it's good at, drinking water. With the climate change we have and more water coming, we need something that can help us absorb water. So Mette, my wife, and me, we found this lovely spot in the middle of nowhere. It's an old farmhouse. As a housewarming present, we got 2 sticks of willow. And we were told you can just put them in the ground, they will grow. And we really didn't believe them, but that's how it started. We started to grow more willow and weaving different shapes and forms of trees, and it all ended up with sculptures. And it's just taken on from there, really. This is the Eiffel Tower. It was originally made for an exhibition in Paris. I think now it's a bit more like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. This is what I call a willow wand. You just basically plant this, and this is about 3 years later, and I love the design, and so does my cat. It does use it as a scratching post, but the tree doesn't really mind. So this is my willow field. These are all different varieties of willow. We put out plastic, and that's to keep weed away and to keep the soil under it warm. So we don't water the fields, only natural rain will be here. When you plant willow, you take a stick like this, and you want to make sure that the butt pointing to the heaven. Pop the stick into the ground and make sure that it gets in about 20 centimeters. So these small sticks will now generate a shoot or two that will 6 to 8 months get about 2 meters tall. And I left a bit of the field just to show how I harvest my willow once a year. I just use a secateurs, and it's really a manual job. I trim them right back to where they came out, each shoots. I do this normally in January or February when it's cold and when it's storming. So once we have done the harvest, we collect it and then we leave it in cold storage. So this will create an artificial winter. The willow thinks basically that it's still cold in winter, so it will wait, and I can just take the willow out and 10 days later it would have started growing again. So let me show you what you can do with willow. I'm going to create a nice little weaved hedge. You can just stick your willow in the ground. It goes in about 10 or 15 centimeters. And they're all leaning a bit to my right side. And I do that for every 15 centimeters. So willow is very good at creating rooms in your garden. It's also good for stopping wind. So at all points where I already have willow, I just add another 3 willows, but they're going the opposite direction. So they lean to the other side now. So those that turns on to the right cross with those turning to the left. The good thing about willow is easy to bend. It doesn't break. I just use a tie here, and that tie will stay on for 1 year and you can take it off. Now we just need the top off. So here are my finished willow hedges. This will be my second Chelsea. I was there 2 years ago. It does help that I've been there before. So this is my Chelsea stand. As a centerpiece, what would be more appropriate than bringing a living umbrella? We have a lot of water in Denmark coming down, so I will bring this. It will be fully grown by the time we are at Chelsea, and I know it's going to be a real selfie tree. So here we have the living umbrella that you just saw 5 years later, and it's thickened up and it's fused at all joints. So those 16 trees will slowly become one. This is my greenhouse where I bring in some willow trees that I want to fast forward. And one thing I wanted to and hoping for will work and be ready for Chelsea is this sculpture. I've named it Helga, and we really need to encourage a big top so that it corresponds to the body of the sculpture. So we will dispot any shoots up to the top ring, and then we encourage the growth to be this big. I would prefer for Chelsea. It's obvious that I'm hoping for a gold medal. That's what I've been working for some 20 years. Didn't get it in 22, but this time I'll do anything I can to get there, and I would be over the moon if it happened.
Well, here I am on Heinrich's exhibit. I'm just going to take a selfie under the living umbrella tree. Oh, it comes out really well. Heinrich, lovely to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Beautiful stand, I've got to say. How was the journey bringing everything over?
Well, we had a car break in Germany, so that costed about 40 hours.
40 hours?
Yeah, but I think we caught up. But it's been stressful few days.
I was going to say, 40 hours getting over here, the stress levels just must have gone through the roof.
Yeah, you know the kind of pressure we're already on, so we really didn't need that, but I think we made it.
Yeah,
so,
and you've got your Chelsea hat on, I
thank
see.
You, yes.
Very important.
Yeah.
Now, they are beautiful, your sculptures. The thing about willow, though, is it grows at an enormous rate. So, you know, someone will buy a piece of your sculpture or make their own willow fence, and then it's going to start growing. So how do you maintain it?
Well, don't be afraid to really trim it hard. So it's like when you trim them in, they will just shoot again and become even more compact. And that's the beauty. So it's really wrong to just let it grow. It'll get out of control. You really want to keep that control. Okay. And then you can shape it into anything you like, any top. This one, the living umbrella, I will trim it like an umbrella so you can sit in the shade, just enjoy your drink. And
enjoy your Chelsea show as well. And Helga, I love the way you name some of your sculptures. Helga made it here too.
Yes, Helga came with Frick and Freya and Thor, and they're all here.
They've all got names, but when you sell them, what happens? You know, you sell them and then you've got to rename a load more.
Well, I do, when I come up with a new thing, obviously I try to find a new name, and we go with the Nordic methodology, so we just look a bit into that.
Maybe your cat helps you a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
with the naming.
yeah,
I
you've
love
seen-
your cat, I
yeah,
gotta say. Now,
Well-
Henrik, you got a gold medal. You got a gold
Thank
medal.
you. Yes.
I mean, how does that feel? Because that's what it's all about for you, isn't it?
Well, I'm on the moon, you know. It's really, really nice. It took me 20 years to get from those to that little nice award, you know. So it's like really, really lovely. But it was a lot of hard work, I can tell you.
A huge amount of hard work. Congratulations. You got there, you brought it to Chelsea, and it looks absolutely stunning. Wonderful, lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, back out to Main Avenue now with Adam, who's looking at a show garden.
This is the Stroke Association garden, and it's designed by Miria Harris. It's a garden designed to reflect the journey to recovery after a stroke. And I think it is absolutely stunning. Straight away, you come up undulating paths to a central space, but you feel safe because these walls sort of wrap around you. The colour of materials blends beautifully. This pond is clay puddled. That's not been done at Chelsea for a very, very long time. But then you look at the green of the trees and they relate to the hedge and this corrugated backdrop. And then the underplanting that sort of moves the eye. Eh? This is special.
Oh, thank you.
This really is, Miria.
Thanks.
It's not just special, but this is a very, very personal garden.
So personal, yeah. It's it's all about like taking your time and for me that's a personal story about taking time with recovery after a traumatic experience.
Because ultimately, you know, you had a stroke.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's lots of sort of hidden messages in the garden. And what I'm really enjoying, because this garden is about, you know, it's about flow, it's about movement. And what I'm really enjoying is that the planting has started to move. Now it's settled in.
Yeah.
Now we're open in the show. And what's really been fantastic is just seeing like both flowers open and shut throughout the course of the day. So we've got the lily in the pond that just opens about 11 o'clock in the morning, and then goes to sleep at night and then wakes up again. And it's just like all, you know, just doing this wonderful performance.
But also straight away, there's a lot of wildlife in this garden as well.
So much. It's like alive. Like the bees were just like a feast in there. I mean, even though it's raining, they're still buzzing around. And there's just because there's lots of planting in it. It's a really complex planting palette, and there are things that have been grown from seed and that are just full of nectar.
And that idea of, you said it's a complex planting planet, but I know that's a personal garden, but is there any planting in here that means just that extra?
There's a plant that's particularly special to me, and that's this plant, the Linum perenn.
Yeah, which is, so how's that special?
Yeah, so 3 months before I had my stroke, my father had died, and he'd left me an anthology of my great-great-grandmother's Victorian botanical illustrations from New Zealand. And there's some really wonderful flowers and plants in this book, but this particular plant just struck such a chord, such a beautiful picture, and I was like, that has to be front and forward in the garden. You know what's so lovely is it doesn't always open, but it's open right now. Even though it's raining, it's like it's open, which is just so special.
Do you know what? That special memory dotted through this space is what makes it magical, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just all about, it's about individuality and like everybody owning their own personal recovery journey. And even the plants have their individuality too.
Well, I tell you what, I think the public are going to absolutely love this, and you enjoy the week.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Good to speak to you.
There are plenty of first-timers making waves here at Chelsea this year, some of which are in the small garden categories, which really do show that limited space is no barrier to imagination and creativity. And RH has been on a whistle-stop tour of the show garden to pick out some of the highlights.
There are so many new designers here at Chelsea this year making waves, and I want to see the level of detail it takes to get a medal.
I'm delighted to give you a silver gilt medal. Well done. Well done.
Congratulations, are you very happy with this? Look, it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so
well
much.
done.
First Chelsea
First.
I have silver medal. Thank
Amazing.
you.
This is Tommy's garden, and no wonder it got a silver gilt. The attention to detail is phenomenal. Take a look at this, the herb and vegetable border. And what they've done is made sure that all the clippings, all of the sort of dead material, it's just been left in the border. It's called chop and drop. Absolutely brilliant. If you look up, there's even more planting, and it's been put in the gutter. The reason why is to slow the flow of the rainfall that would come through, and any overflow of water comes down the rain chain into this lovely collection vessel and can be used in the garden whenever it's needed. More attention to detail. Is it a rhubarb forcer? No, it's not, because what they've done is dug down under here and you've got a composter. So in a garden of this space, everybody has the opportunity to compost, but of course it's made to look beautiful. This is a gold medal awarded garden, and I'm not surprised. The Change in Tide Gardens is a coastal expression of a space in the UK, and there are some great details in this space. These Kent ragstone boulders have been handcrafted so that they can be planted up with all of these exquisite coastal plants. This steel trench pile, perfect planter, and these reclaimed hardwood timber groins have been reused to be a protective barrier so that if I was sat in this garden, I would feel totally protected.
Daniel, I'm thrilled, I'm proud that you have won the best all about plants award.
Thank you so much.
Hugely well deserved.
So much.
Dan, huge congratulations, gold medal and now best in category. I mean, I've come to see the level of detail it takes to get an award, so I think we can certainly see that. But tell me, the concept of this garden, the size of Wales, tell me about that.
Yeah, we're working with an incredible charity called the Size of Wales, and that name is often used as a sort of unit of measurement of destruction of tropical forests around the world. So the charity wanted to flip it, and they wanted to protect an area of tropical forest of 2 million hectares or more, which is the size of Wales.
Let's start with the canopy. I mean, you've got quite a few trees in here. What have we got?
But the trees, we wanted to use columnar trees to really maximise the extremes of scale within the planting. And also the narrowness accentuates the perspective, so when you're standing underneath them you feel like you're in a grove of giants, even if they're only about 10 metres tall.
It really does. And I think this is the category all about plants, and for that you have smashed it.
Well, we really took it a little bit too literally, I think, the category name.
Well, thank you, Dan. Well, it's certainly been so interesting to see the level of detail that it takes to get a medal here at Chelsea.
Well, thanks very much, Aaron. Joe, I think the time has come.
Yeah.
To see if our prediction, we don't know if they're right yet, but I want to know what it is.
I want to know what you've put down.
Well, open up. Go on, open the box.
You put Monty and Monty, no, that's on the outside.
Yes, that's on the... Okay, here we go. Joe, you have said Tom Massey.
And you've put the National Garden Scheme Garden, Tom Stewart Smith. We've gone for both the Toms.
We've got both the crops. Well, we don't know if we're right, but here's what else we've got in store for you on tonight's coverage of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2024, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
I'll be finding out who won the most coveted of all the awards in the Great Pavilion as we reveal this year's winner of the Best Exhibit.
I'll be meeting Dame Judi Dench, who on her annual visit to Chelsea shares with me what is so special about this show to her.
And how did designer Anne-Marie Powell fare when she took on an ambitious show garden build to create a space designed for urban communities?
We'll find out later. But first, in tonight's instalment of the Chelsea Lookbook, Nick Bailey is looking at how the designers are elevating the most humble and familiar of materials into eye-catching features.
Timber has been used in construction and gardens for thousands of years, but the way that it's manipulated, sawn, jointed, treated is in a constant state of evolution, and that couldn't be more evident than this year at Chelsea Flower Show. This beautiful piece of decking is constructed from English oak. They've managed to cheat it here and use a special technique to age it. And so it's a combination of vinegar and wire wool, and used together, they instantly take the oak from a kind of tan colour into this silver. And over here is a completely different timber. This is beech, and it's literally a slice from a large tree trunk. It's been smoothed on the surface, but all that kind of venation shows up absolutely beautifully. They've very cleverly done a lap joint so the two coalesce just here. So I think it's a fabulous combination of two beautiful timbers used in close association together. Walking into this garden is like being embraced by a giant hug, and that's partly down to its shape, but I think there's much to do with the materials. This cedar runs all the way around, and it's got that wonderful warm ginger note to it. Just here on the coarser material, you see it's been beautifully cut into the stone, which is just a fantastic detail, and it makes the bench that wraps all the way around the garden. And those gingery notes sort of tie into the overall palette. Now, in terms of this being used as a material in the garden, it's hard wearing, it's resistant to pests. So if you're looking to create an arch, a bench, a glass house, or any structure in your garden, cedar is one of the woods to consider. Now, this is not strictly wood, but it's certainly wood adjacent. Of course, it's cork, and it comes from an oak tree, Quercus suber, that grows in Portugal, and it's brilliantly sustainable. If you strip the bark off most trees, they'll die, but not with cork. About every 10 years or so, it can be stripped off, used for all sorts of different products, and the tree is able to regrow its bark, and it actually absorbs more carbon in the process when it's doing that. Now, the cork's been used in a really interesting way here. It's been broken up into blocks and then glued together with its own resin, so it creates this really interesting textural surface. There are all sorts of different ways you can use cork in the garden. It can be used as flooring, be used as cladding, and it will last for years and years. Wood may be a timeless material, but it's got all sorts of contemporary applications. So why not consider adding some timber to your garden?
Now, the best exhibit in the Great Pavilion is awarded to the stand that the judges considered head and shoulders above those around them. And the winner is the exhibit Cape Flora of South Africa. And I'm with Leon Kluger, the designer. Leon, lovely to meet you. Carol has not stopped raving about you and the exhibit. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. She's been very kind.
Well, I can see why. I mean, it really is stunning. And it's obviously taken a huge amount of work getting it here and putting it together. How's that been?
Yeah, so the work started about 3 weeks ago when we visited all the flower farms around the Cape.
Yeah.
So that's a distance of about 1,000 kilometers between all the flower farms. Yeah. And I visited everyone that I think will have a flower open, because this is still early in the season for the proteas to be open. They only open about mid-June, early July.
Right, okay.
So I would phone up all of them, say how many buds of this is maybe going to open, then go there, make sure it's packed, and then get the trucks 2 degrees from the farms to Cape Town, Cape Town to Dubai, Dubai to Heathrow, Heathrow here. Yeah, and once we get them here, we cut them, let them drink, but it looks horrible. All the flowers are flat and it looks like, you know, you can't use them all, but let them drink overnight, the next morning they'll
Really, they just puff up straight away?
Exactly, yeah.
Because they're a wonderful cut flower, aren't they?
Magnificent. If you look after them, a month in a vase, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And then, okay, so you've got all the plants here, and then you've got to build this exhibit. I mean, these clay structures are fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you bring those, did you fly them over with you?
No, no, so everything was handmade here. So I got the clay from the UK, and we tested it back in South Africa. You know, our hot weather, it cracks in a day. Here, I was molding the clay with my fingers, and it started to rain, beautiful UK weather.
Lovely.
And my clay is just staying smooth as silk. It freaked me out completely. Plan A, B, and C. Oh, I don't have those. But luckily, over the weekend, you had some sun, and it cracked beautifully.
So the cracking, I mean, it really is a picture, and you've got so much height in it. It's not just you, right? You've got a load of guys with you.
Yeah, we're a team of 7.
Okay.
Everybody has importance. Somebody just focusing on structural work, somebody just cutting flowers, making sure all the ugly little leaves are off. Yeah, so it's a close-knit team.
Fantastic. Listen, the exhibit looks absolutely amazing. You got the award. Congratulations, well done. Lovely to meet you.
Our next garden comes from a designer who's returning to Main Avenue after a break from the rigours of the judging circuit. It's a design that has got community right at the heart of it. Her Chelsea story begins in Dagenham, East London.
I'm Anne-Marie Powell, and I'm a garden designer, and I've been lucky enough to be designing gardens for nearly 30 years. I have got a long history with Chelsea, actually. My first garden was in 2010, and we won a gold. And I've done various gardens, including the RHS's first garden in 2016, and it was green in Great Britain, a huge privilege. I genuinely believe that green space is important to all of us, particularly now. 80% of our population live in cities. In 10 years' time, it'll be 90%. 1 in 3 people don't have any access close to their homes to nature-rich environments. I really want to champion the building of more green space in every single city and community. I am super excited to be here at Stoneford Community Garden to see what a difference this green space makes to the local community.
We have gardening sessions every 2 weeks, so I come whenever I can.
I've been coming here for about 1.5 years. I couldn't wait to get in here. As a child, we wasn't allowed, and now I'm allowed. It feels great, and it feels brilliant to be part of this as well.
It's beautiful, it's lovely for the children, especially the ones who live in flats who don't have gardens themselves.
It's very nice when I give birth to just come out and explore and meet other parents and children and just enjoy the weather and have some fun. It means a lot to us.
I think people would be super surprised that this is actually owned and run by the National Trust.
The National Trust own it, but it really belongs to the people who live in this neighbourhood. So I'm Jo Dimitri. I lead some of our city work, particularly in London. There's more and more people living in cities, and yet so much of our nature and biodiversity is disappearing. So having spaces like this is so important.
It's a gorgeous day to be in such a pretty space.
Isn't it just? We've been really lucky. And it's a very special place with a really special story. It used to belong to Mrs. Mary White, who until 2018 lived here. And after she passed away, she wanted the garden to be shared with the local community.
So how big is the garden?
It's 1/2 acre, so it's a decent size. I think one of the things that always gets me is how much birdsong there is in the garden. You're aware that the city's all around you, but it's a real sort of haven for wildlife and somewhere that you can really connect with nature.
Lovely. The community's thriving just like the garden is.
Absolutely.
My design at Chelsea really is about bringing communities of people together, actually. I think that's exactly what's happening here, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Places like this are so good for people just being able to come and spend time in nature.
One of the founder members of the National Trust was a huge champion for social reform, green space, and she wanted to make sure that beauty and nature were available to everybody. Octavia Hill was so inspirational to me in thinking about how she should be celebrated at the Chelsea Flower Show. She was working through the 19th century in Victorian Britain, and she really wanted to make sure that open-air sitting rooms were available in all of those inner city areas so that people could enjoy all of the value of just being within nature and the wildlife that it brings. So for me, looking back upon things like how badly we in the UK are doing at giving green space to people, we're losing wildlife at a huge rate of knots. One of the loveliest quotes that Octavia said was that we all want quiet, we all want beauty, and we all need space. And I think that that is more important today than it was when she was alive. It's very clear to me that Octavia would be championing urban community green space gardens. So that's what we've designed. So we're imagining that this is in an urban environment. I've imagined it as being in Southwark, which is where Octavia and her sister Miranda had their first community urban project, isn't it?
Red Cross Gardens.
Yes, exactly. We've put all these different open-air sitting rooms in the garden, you can see. Lots of different spots for people to sit. And that's really taken from Octavia Hill's idea of getting people to immerse themselves in nature. And if you see nature, then you feel part of it. And if you feel part of it, then you cherish it. I've chosen trees and shrubs that I don't think have been seen at Chelsea before. Celtis sinensis, which is an Asian tree actually. And what that will do is it will release oxygen into the environment, it will make our cities more moist, and it will provide that shade, not just for people, but also habitat for wildlife too. We need to be supporting that biodiversity way into the future as we lose more and more of our urban trees. And we're losing them fast.
Yeah.
I've chosen plants that can cope with the hot, dry summers and the cold, wet winters. And hopefully it will help people to know what they should be planting in their gardens to future-proof their spaces and also the wildlife that we have.
1, 2, 3, 4. Brilliant.
I think Octavia would have really loved this. This is what she was all about. And it's been wonderful to come here today and realise that's exactly what our urban community wildlife garden is for people to spend time together as a community outside. This is my first time at Chelsea in 14 years where I'll be judged. What am I doing? It'll be worth it.
Well, Anne-Marie's garden was awarded a silver gilt medal, just missing a gold. And I don't know whether she thinks it's worth it or not, and I'll find out in a minute or two because I'm going to talk to her. But I think everything that went into this garden is worth it because it is fabulous and it's giving huge amounts of pleasure to people. That's palpable. You get that reaction. And the reason for that is because it's a garden that just hums with life and colour and exuberance. And if you know Anne-Marie, that's not surprising because that sums her up too. And of all the gardens here at Chelsea this year, this has most colour. It just is celebrating that, whether it is through the marvellous mixture of the alliums and the irises, or as you move down, there's an area there of peach colours and apricots and coppers, which are amongst my favourite plants, but used not just with joie de vivre and exuberance, but with sensitivity too. This is a garden done by somebody who really now understands plants and knows how to use them. And of course, the seats, the Octavia Hill seats where people can sit, are beautifully done. They're incredibly well crafted, and that matters. Anne-Marie, congratulations.
Oh,
I'm just saying how much I love this garden, and I know that everyone... So is it worth it?
Absolutely. I mean, the public are adoring it, and it's just such a joy to be able to share the things that I love, Octavia loves, and should be accessible and available to everybody in town.
And how does it feel, I mean, after all this long time of doing a garden that's judged, and that must change everything when you go about it?
It does change everything. It absolutely does. And I think you've got to be brave or stupid to put yourself into this position.
Well, knowing you as I do, Anne-Marie, I'm not going to comment on which you are.
But do you know what? More than that, it's just so wonderful to just be able to talk to people who are absolutely in love with the garden. And we got the Children's Choice Award as well, which just means the world to me. So,
I mean, I know that this garden is geared really clearly for creating spaces in urban settings.
Yeah.
And yet what you've done is there's a sort of cottagey feel to it.
Absolutely, that's right. So,
and is this what you feel we should be doing? Because the truth is you would have to be a really very, very good gardener to create this.
Yeah, it is a Chelsea version of an urban community garden. So, but I just think it's about creating these matrix, these mosaics of different planting styles, isn't it? So, and if a community just chooses to take one section of the plants and that enhances people's lives, brings in all of that biodiversity that we're losing at a rate of knots in this country, then that's got to be a good thing. It's full of ideas to hopefully kickstart projects across cities.
And there was something that you said about Octavia Hill about needing calm and peace.
Yeah.
I think for our well-being, that is becoming ever more important, isn't it?
Absolutely, and somewhere where you can sit down and feel part of nature. So
Well-
you see the beauty, fragility, and you look after it.
Well, thanks for bringing that to Chelsea, and well done. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Many of the thousands of visitors who flock here to the showground every year will be making a beeline for the Great Pavilion to see what new plants have been launched by the nurseries and growers, the very best of which will be named the RHS Plant of the Year. And here's Francis with this year's results.
Chelsea is the runway of the plant world, with breeders and nurseries bringing you brand new introductions which have never been seen before and vying to make them the next must-have plants for your homes and gardens. 20 have been shortlisted, and I'm going to show you the winning 3. This is the 3rd place plant. It's called Agave Praying Hands, but it's actually a cross between an agave and a manfreda. So the result of that is something a little bit different in shape, but also something much more hardy than a normal agave. So about -5 degrees is the minimum that this plant would want to get, but in a lot of parts of the UK, that's absolutely fine as long as the soil is free draining. But it looks really different from a normal agave. It's not got the star shape, but instead has much more of a rosette form and almost like a teardrop. Actually looks a little bit like an artichoke. They're really unusual, something that's captured the hearts of a lot of people here at Chelsea. The second prize plant is Cosmos Astrosanguineus Cherry Chocolate. They've done 2 really important things with this. Firstly, they've ironed out some of the problems that chocolate cosmos can be prone to. So this one is hardy across the UK, as long as it's a free draining soil, which others sometimes tend to die in a cold winter. And the second thing that they've done is they've really improved the flowers. So these flowers, when they come, will be about twice the size of a normal chocolate cosmos. And they have pink buds that open into a cherry pink flower with yellow pollen and stamen at the centre. And once this starts flowering, it will keep on going right through until the first frosts. So I think many gardeners, myself included, will probably be buying one of these plants. And first place was awarded earlier today. It's Prunus Starlight, exhibited by Green Jam. And I'm joined now by Julia Mitchell. Julia, congratulations. You must be very pleased with this.
Really, really pleased, and thank you very much. It's a beautiful tree and well deserved.
Why do you think this Prunus won?
A few things really. Firstly, the shape of the flower is very different to most of the Prunus. A little bit like a Magnolia stellata, that star-shaped flower, which is obviously why it's called Starlight. Potential to flowering period, so possibly a little bit in the winter because of the parentage. Good autumn colour, and not too large, so good in a small garden.
When you got this tree, did you expect it to win Best Plant?
You don't expect, but I think, I really thought it stood out against the other competitors, and just super proud of it. It's a really lovely tree, and we've had some lovely comments from customers.
Well done. It's a beautiful stand, just finished off by a beautiful Prunus.
Joining me now is one of the finest British actors of our time, with more accolades and a showground full of Chelsea designers put together. She has clocked up an Oscar, 2 Golden Globes, 10 BAFTAs, 7 Olivia Awards, and even has a stint as head of MI6. And of course, it's none other than Dame Judi Dench. Judy, how lovely to see you.
And you, Monty, thank you.
And to see you here at Chelsea. Have you been coming to Chelsea a long time?
We've not that long. I think we've been coming 4 or 5 years. There is always so much to see that the thing we've never done is come back the 2nd or 3rd day, which we should, because you see the...
Yeah, it is a bit of a bum fight at times, isn't it?
So lovely there.
And you're a gardener, aren't you?
I do love it. And Michael and I have always planted trees to our friends who've died.
Yes, tell me about that. I was reading about that.
Well, it's just full. I think we must have probably 70 trees that I planted. And there's lots more, I'm afraid, to go in. But it's just a lovely thing. I mean, you know, Tony Sher died a few years ago, so Greg Doran was retiring from the RSC this year, and it was a nice thing to be able to send him a picture of the tree. It's now a great deal taller than me, as I said to him on the film, not very hard to be, but nevertheless, it's, you know, and Eddie Izzard's father's got a tree in the garden.
Right.
It's so beautiful. It's a lovely thing to send as a memory of people.
And it's alive. It's living.
It's a living
That's the
thing,
crucial thing,
and it goes on getting even more wonderful.
And how do you use your garden?
I sit in it.
Do you think?
I sit and I think in it, and I walk in it. Not recently because it's been so muddy, because I can't see very well. You know, I'd be also lying in it a lot. Not quite suitable. But I just absolutely love it. And this year, the garlic, because everybody said that this year.
Yes, because it's been damp and it likes it fairly damp. But the garlic's been amazing, hasn't it?
I've never seen anything like the garlic. But it's so pretty, and the smell is lovely.
Is your garden sort of trouble-free and I imagine it's sort of a joyous thing?
It's got a wonderful pond that was there and a stream, and I've got ducks and coots and people. And a lovely meadow where, when we originally went to the house 40 years ago, there were 2 donkeys.
Right.
A friend of ours hired the meadow for the donkeys, which I loved. But they're away now, and so now the meadow is full of trees, and it has a little shepherd's hut in it, and a beautiful horse made of, what's that stuff that you
Willow?
find? No, on the beach.
Driftwood?
Yes.
A driftwood horse?
I can never remember that word. Yes, all made of driftwood, life-size.
Really?
It's beautiful.
Really? Well, it sounds a joy. And thank you for coming to see us here. Thank you for the incredible pleasure you've given me personally over the years.
Thank you. Well, likewise, Monty. Thank you so much.
Our national treasure. And yes, Dame Judi teases me every time I see her because my dad was in the Royal Shakespeare Company with her back in the 60s when I was so high. Now it's a time to reveal the winner of the highest accolade on Main Avenue, reserved only for gold medal winners, the Best Show Garden. Monty joined Claire Mattison, Director General of the RHS, a little earlier to surprise the winner.
Well, many congratulations on your gold medal. You must be delighted.
I am so pleased. Yeah, amazing news.
Well, thoroughly deserved. And one of the things I wanted, because we chatted about together yesterday, but one of the things I wanted to ask you about, because it's such an important part of your garden, is the forest bathing.
Yes.
Because you've created this marvellous garden, but forest bathing is right at the heart of it is. And to be honest, I'm an old fogey that doesn't quite know what forest bathing is. So just talk me through that.
So forest bathing is a Japanese practice where you spend mindfully time in the forest, really trying to take in the atmosphere and being connected to nature and the surroundings. So unlike just a regular walk in a forest, you're really trying to notice the attention of the...
I'm Claire Mattison, the Director General of the RHS, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you have been awarded the Best Show Garden.
Congratulations. Amazing. Wow,
Well
thank
done.
you.
Well done. So well done.
Thank
I'm sorry we set you up.
Set you up.
Wow, amazing. Oh, thank you.
And this is your first time on Main Avenue, isn't it?
It is, yeah, wow.
Absolutely amazing achievement.
Well, Ula, I know you must be feeling a little bit amazed and sort of overwhelmed, and you should be, and it's fantastic. But back to the garden, back to the reality of the garden. I mean, what interests me is how you've tackled this as a woodland space. Was that always the intention?
It was always the intention to create a woodland edge planting-inspired garden. And I think it really comes across as a woodland edge style
Well, I mean, I
plant.
think one of the reasons why it's done so well is because the plants are immaculate. And they look very happy, which is always a test, isn't it? I mean, if the plants are happy. And is this something that you think could be transferred to an urban space? Because what I'm thinking is, you've got this hard paving. It's not like a forest floor. Is this something that we need in our towns and cities?
I think so. I think even though this is not a forest floor, all the materials within the garden are inspired by those that could be found in the forest. So it's clay and timber and stone. So we're still keeping the sense and essence of the forest, just in a different form.
I think a lot of people are going to be inspired by this.
Thank you.
Just enjoy every second, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Right, well, you got it very wrong. It was certainly not Water Aid, which by Tom Massey and Jay Ann.
No, and it certainly wasn't the National Garden Scheme garden by Tom Stuart Smith either.
Well, this is a difficult one because obviously we got it wrong, and that's fine. Let me just say, I think that Ula's garden was fabulous, deserved a gold medal.
Congratulations
the
to
fact
Ula,
she's
100%.
young and a brilliant designer is fantastic.
Yes.
But I think everybody I've spoken to, and a lot of people are saying that they just don't understand where the judges are going.
It feels like it's all becoming so technical. The boxes are being ticked, and it's about making a faultless garden rather than, well, we both made a prediction.
Yeah.
For me, it was just those were the two standout gardens here. So I'm trying to understand why they didn't win Best Show. And we have seen hundreds and hundreds of gardens over the years.
We've done all this, and we know. And the one thing that the judges seem to be missing, and in their effort to be transparent and objective, they've lost that sense of delight that makes a garden. And what we have is a procedure that is like passing a driving test.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it's
there
an
might be an
interesting debate.
algorithm coming in.
It
there.
is.
But
Yeah,
listen,
gardens by
well
argument.
done, Ula Maria. Congratulations, fantastic garden.
Okay, right.
Well, did you agree with the judges or Monty and I? Well, the garden designers have got one more acid test to pass. Tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on BBC One, Sophie and I will be launching the BBC RHS People's Choice Award, where you get to vote for your favourite show garden.
And now, back by popular demand, it's time for Press the Button.
Always press the button.
Our first Ask Monty and Joe of the week, and we've already had lots of great questions. We're running out of time, but let's try and get a couple in.
Okay, Nigel H, what could have happened to my Rudbeckias? They've been growing in a border for the last 2 years, but this year completely disappeared without trace, not a sign of them.
They've rotted. It's a wet winter. I suspect they've completely rotted off.
I agree, rotted off, been so wet. Okay, if you're moving house at the wrong time of year, Craig asks, what's the ideal way to shift your beloved plants without causing too much trauma to them?
I don't think you want to worry too much about that. I think just water them a week ahead, water them the night before, dig up as big a clump as possible.
Yeah, and put them in a bucket, put them in a trug, and get them back into the ground as quickly as possible, then water them again.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Well, we love these. So keep your gardening questions coming on our social media pages. We'd love to hear from you.
Huge congratulations to all the medal winners. It's certainly been a roller coaster of a day for them, so well done. And Angelica and Nikki are back on BBC One tomorrow afternoon at 3:45.
And Mary Berry will be joining Sophie and I on BBC One at 7 p.m.
And of course, we'll both be back on BBC Two at 8 o'clock.
See you tomorrow.
Good night.
Plants have their individuality too.
Well, I tell you what, I think the public are going to absolutely love this, and you enjoy the week.
Thanks so much.
All right.
Good to speak to you.
There are plenty of first-timers making waves here at Chelsea this year, some of which are in the small garden categories, which really do show that limited space is no barrier to imagination and creativity. And Arit has been on a whistle-stop tour of the showground to pick out some of the highlights.
There are so many new designers here at Chelsea this year making waves, and I want to see the level of detail it takes to get a medal.
I'm delighted to give you a silver gilt medal. Well done. Well done.
Congratulations, are you very happy with this? Look, it's amazing.
Oh, thank you so
well
much.
done.
First Chelsea.
First.
I have silver medal. Thank
Amazing.
you.
This is Tommy's garden, and no wonder it got a silver gilt. The attention to detail is phenomenal. Take a look at this. The herb.
Which is the size of Wales.
Let's start with the canopy. I mean, you've got quite a few trees in here. What have we got?
But the trees, we wanted to use columnar trees to really maximise the extremes of scale within the planting, and also the narrowness accentuates the perspective, so when you're standing underneath them you feel like you're in a grove of giants, even if they're only about 10 metres tall.
It really does. And I think this is the category all about plants, and for that you have smashed it.
Well, we really took it a little bit too literally, I think, the category name.
Well, thank you, Dan. Well, it's certainly been so interesting to see the level of detail that it takes to get a medal here at Chelsea.
Well, thanks very much, Aaron. Joe, I think the time has come.
Yeah.
To see if our prediction, we don't know if they're right yet, but I want to know what it is.
I want to know what you've put down.
Well, open up. Go on, open the box.
You put Monty and one little no, that's on the outside.
Yes, that's on the Okay, here we go. Joe, you have said Tom Massey.
And you've put the National Garden Scheme Garden, Tom Stewart Smith. We've gone for both the Toms.
We've got both the crops. Well, we don't know if we're right, but here's what else we've got in store for you on tonight's coverage of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show 2024, an event supported by the Newt in Somerset.
I'll be finding out who won the most coveted of all the awards in the Great Pavilion as we reveal this year's winner of the Best Exhibit.
I'll be meeting Dame Judi Dench, who on her annual visit to Chelsea shares with me what is so special about this show to her.
And how did designer Anne-Marie Powell fare when she took on an ambitious show garden build to create a space designed for urban communities?
We'll find out later. But first, in tonight's instalment of the Chelsea Lookbook, Nick Bailey is looking at how the designers are elevating the most humble and familiar of materials into eye-catching features.
Timber has been used in construction and gardens for thousands of years, but the way that it's manipulated, sawn, jointed, treated is in a constant state of evolution, and that couldn't be more evident than this year at Chelsea Flower Show. This beautiful piece of decking is constructed from English oak. They've managed to cheat it here and use a special technique to age it. And so it's a combination of vinegar and wire wool, and used together, they instantly take the oak from a kind of tan colour into this silver. And over here is a completely different timber. This is beech, and it's literally a slice from a large tree trunk. It's been smoothed on the surface, but all that kind of venation shows up absolutely beautifully. They've very cleverly done a lap joint so the two coalesce just here. So I think it's a fabulous combination of two beautiful timbers used in close association together. Walking into this garden is like being embraced by a giant hug, and that's partly down to its shape, but I think there's much to do with the materials. This cedar runs all the way around, and it's got that wonderful warm ginger note to it. Just here on the coarser material, you see it's been beautifully cut into the stone, which is just a fantastic detail, and it makes the bench that wraps all the way around the garden. And those gingery notes sort of tie into the overall palette. Now, in terms of this being used as a material in the garden, it's hard wearing, it's resistant to pests. So if you're looking to create an arch, a bench, a glass house, or any structure in your garden, cedar is one of the woods to consider. Now, this is not strictly wood, but it's certainly wood adjacent. Of course, it's cork, and it comes from an oak tree, Quercus suber, that grows in Portugal, and it's brilliantly sustainable. If you strip the bark off most trees, they'll die, but not with cork. About every 10 years or so, it can be stripped off, used for all sorts of different products, and the tree is able to regrow its bark, and it actually absorbs more carbon in the process when it's doing that. Now, the cork's been used in a really interesting way here. It's been broken up into blocks and then glued together with its own resin, so it creates this really interesting textural surface. There are all sorts of different ways you can use cork in the garden. It can be used as flooring, be used as cladding, and it will last for years and years. Wood may be a timeless material, but it's got all sorts of contemporary applications. So why not consider adding some timber to your garden?
Now, the best exhibit in the Great Pavilion is awarded to the stand that the judges considered head and shoulders above those around them. And the winner is the exhibit Cape Flora of South Africa. And I'm with Leon Kluger, the designer. Leon, lovely to meet you. Carol has not stopped raving about you and the exhibit. Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. She's been very kind.
Well, I can see why. I mean, it really is stunning. And it's obviously taken a huge amount of work getting it here and putting it together. How's that been?
Yeah, so the work started about 3 weeks ago when we visited all the flower farms around the Cape.
Yeah.
So that's a distance of about 1,000 kilometers between all the flower farms. Yeah. And I visited everyone that I think will have a flower open, because this is still early in the season for the proteas to be open. They only open about mid-June, early July.
Right, okay.
So I would phone up all of them, say how many buds of this is maybe going to open, then go there, make sure it's packed, and then get the trucks 2 degrees from the farms to Cape Town, Cape Town to Dubai, Dubai to Heathrow, Heathrow here. Yeah, and once we get them here, we cut them, let them drink, but it looks horrible. All the flowers are flat and it looks like, you know, you can't use them all, but let them drink overnight, the next morning they'll
Really, they just puff up straight away?
Exactly, yeah.
Because they're a wonderful cut flower, aren't they?
Magnificent. If you look after them, a month in a vase, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. And then, okay, so you've got all the plants here, and then you've got to build this exhibit. I mean, these clay structures are fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you bring those, did you fly them over with you?
No, no, so everything was handmade here. So I got the clay from the UK, and we tested it back in South Africa. You know, our hot weather, it cracks in a day. Here, I was molding the clay with my fingers, and it started to rain, beautiful UK weather.
Lovely.
And my clay is just staying smooth as silk. It freaked me out completely. Plan A, B, and C. Oh, I don't have those. But luckily, over the weekend, you had some sun, and it cracked beautifully.
So the cracking, I mean, it really is a picture, and you've got so much height in it. It's not just you, right? You've got a load